In 2022, a wealthy landowner challenged the right to wild camp on Dartmoor and won. The following year, after an outcry from the public and support from the National Park themselves, there was an appeal and it was overturned, making camping legal again. Now, the landowner is taking an appeal to the Supreme Court and is attempting to remove this right once and for all. I'm going to meet my friend James now, and together we're going to cross Dartmoor from north to south, camping overnight and talking to those that we come across to find out why is this so important. How are you doing?
Welcome to the worst 72 hours of your life.
We were full of optimism, eager to get far away from our previous lives hunched over a screen all week. As our train escaped town, we had a look at our route. We'd started at Oakhampton train station, only covering 4 miles until our first camping spot, up on Eastmeal Tor. The next day was going to be the toughest, wading through bogs, leaping across rivers, and navigating featureless moorland. After a lunch break in Postbridge, we'd make our way up to the Fox Tor, our second campsite. The third day would be a little simpler. Following the boggy Abbots Way, we then head onto the Two Moors Way with gentler gravel tracks down into Ivybridge. The entire route was 34 miles long. Before we'd even reached Dartmoor, we got chatting to Valentoni, who encapsulated perfectly how spending nights away in wild places can give someone lifelong memories and a love of the natural world.
Camped in fields, and it was just such a nice feeling to be in the tent at night and hear the noises around. Well, sometimes we wondered what they were, but it's scary. But really, I think when I look back, those memories are very vivid still. The experience was great.
My first experience camping, I think, was when I was a teenager in the Lake District with a couple of friends. It was just nice to be there and get up in the morning and go and
Birds.
Yes, bird song, and go and sort of get the water from the stream. We would never leave anything behind. You camp there and you look after the place. I think it ought to be possible for people to use the space responsibly.
It's very valuable that people, especially young people, I think, can get this experience of getting away from cars and shops and just right away from it and just live with nature for a few days. It's really nice.
With over 3/4 of UK children wanting to spend more time in nature, I wondered how we could justify closing them off to the same experiences that Valentoni had treasured. And as the train finally rolled into Oakhampton station, we began our journey. Although James was still getting used to modelling for the camera. You gotta walk up the hill now. Waves of fog-capped tors and wet footsteps washed the last remnants of normal life, along with all of its complications, away from our minds. All that was left was to put one foot in front of the other. Before long, we were coming up to our first stop. Just walking along here, we've got this lovely group of wild campers camping by the river, so I'm going to go say hello.
My name's Howard Mallett and I'm helping the Exmouth Community College with Tentals training this weekend, ready for their event in 2 weeks' time. So when I was young, I was really lucky and I did Tentals. I managed to do it 8 times, which is a bit mad, but I did some when I was really young and some when I was a bit too old. Tentals has given me a passion for walking and for loving the environment and conservation. It started me off with all the walking that I do and have done ever since in my life. Camping out in the middle of nowhere is just absolutely fantastic. Just the freedom of doing that and the peacefulness in the evenings as well. For a little while, a year or two ago, we weren't allowed to camp wild on Dartmoor while there was a court case going on. It was fairly upsetting. Luckily, Dartmoor National Park, which have been absolutely brilliant, have fought the case, and I think it's really important, not just for now, but for the future, for other people coming out on Dartmoor and being able to have that ability to wild camp.
we nestled beneath the looming, damp mass of East Mill Tor. Howard's words lingered with us. It's the freedom to pitch on that hill in the distance, the solitude of that nook by the stream that makes camping wild so distinct from a campsite.
Nicely done.
The view in the morning is not a landowner's tamed product that you prepay 25 quid for, but a gentle handshake between you and the land itself. However, it does have its challenges.
Well, I had quite a tricky night. My tent, which has been a loyal companion for many years, has unfortunately on its last leg. And had a bit of water come in last night because there was a massive storm. So sleeping bag got a bit wet and wasn't perfect.
Oh shit.
Probably had about 30 minutes sleep. But
Oh no.
but we'll crack on.
Endless thick fog coated our early morning footsteps. Hopes for a sunrise view across the rugged tors were smothered, but replaced with an equally dramatic sensation of having awakened in an ancient realm.
We found our way onto our first peat pass. And these were built specifically to allow people to navigate the nasty peat bogs of Dartmoor. Still extremely bad weather, just fog constantly.
We pressed on through this ethereal landscape, stretching ourselves across the black streams that cut through the endless tussocks. We could have been on another planet. But then, other life forms emerged through the mist.
My name's John Down. I was born and bred in these parts, born on the moor, and I've enjoyed the moor since I was a boy. This is a public place, and that's why they made it a national park. It's for everybody, not just for one person or family. We should be able to come up here and spend an overnight, have an overnight stay, and I hope for generations to come it will be the same. That the public will be able to come up on and enjoy Dartmoor.
To be honest, at this point we were cold, hungry, and a bit fed up of the drizzle. But those who know the strange upland also know that here, persistence is rewarded.
So the weather has finally cleared and we can see just how stunning Dartmoor is now.
A well-deserved break from both the walking and the rain allowed James to dry out his sodden tent, and for us to make sure we were still on track.
Oh yeah, here.
In the pub garden, we met Madeline, a local hiker.
I know people who wild camp, and I'm not particularly a camper myself, but I know people who just love it, and it's very, very important to them. And there is something about waking up almost outside, which is very exciting. And I think this whole business of wild camping and right to roam is again one of those things that you just have to watch because it's taken away so easily. We live in an area in East Devon where footpaths are often falling away, and you've just got to keep watching that those footpaths are kept open and that people get the chance to continue to have access to places that they had access to before. I really feel for landowners who were left with a mess or with things that had been destroyed. You can absolutely see that point of view. I think if people are allowed to do this, then they have more respect for the place they're in anyway. When you start setting up too many rules, they're very hard to enforce and everybody feels devalued. So it's just one of the things you have to have everybody on board with. And quietly, everybody pretty much has been on board with it on Dartmoor for many years. So it's a shame that it's now getting into rules and rights and things.
Madeline was right. Access to nature is taken away all too easily. It's how we've arrived at a point where we are free to roam just 8% of our country's land and camp freely in just this one national park, less than 1% of England. Soon, we were walking through the old mines of Whiteworks with the sun on our backs. Unfortunately, getting bogged down in some tricky mires, we realised reaching Fox Tor was impossible. And with the sun going down, we were forced to backtrack and camp on the edge of the old mines.
In bed now, and I can show you one of the best advantages of wild camping. I don't know if you can see that, but there's no signal. So, yeah, it just helps you disconnect and reset from everything that's going on. Broken pen down here, just randomly on the moor. Someone had left, so make sure to pick that up before we go. It's always a good idea to pick up rubbish whenever you see it, so you can even leave the place, not just leave no trace, but leave the area cleaner than you found it. So we've just set off on our day 3. It rained a little bit in the night, but the weather today looks so much better than it did at the start of yesterday, so things are looking up. The south is generally considered easier than the north, but we'll see if that rings true today.
As usual, there are a lot of four-legged friends around, but I'm not sure we are ready to shoot nature documentaries just yet.
Oh my god, cows are humping, get it?
Yes!
Ah, they got nervous.
It's an escape, I suppose, isn't it? Once you come up here within a couple of days, suddenly all those things that fill your mind about work or that life wither away, and it becomes about where you're going to put your tent up and is there water. It's as basic as that.
Just waiting to see what happened out the court, whether it's going to ban it everywhere, whether you've got to pay, because that was part of it, wasn't it?
It was a bit worrying. So you've got this beautiful area to come up and one of the few areas where you can come up and camp and enjoy yourself, and then all of a sudden it kind of gets whipped away, and the fact that someone with just a lot of money can have such an effect on such a large group of people.
We're nearing the end. We managed to get off of the boggy Abbott's Way and onto the Two Moors Way, which is much nicer, lovely track, stunning views and sunshine.
The line that stuck in my head was one of them said that like it's a way of people realising this stuff is legal. It's okay to do this, and it's like this is the place where you learn how to do that. In other places, it's not strictly legal, but you can do it, and you know this is the way to sort of get into that. So I think that's really nice.
And just like that, we were nearing the end of our journey. I'd love to show a fiery sunset here to really sell it, but in reality the end was rather less dramatic. A damp and unremarkable path, abruptly stopping at civilization. But this mundanity was misleading. Dartmoor had put our bodies through their paces, but it had rejuvenated our spirits, submerged our souls in wilderness, and given two mates some stories to tell in the pub. The train dragged our tired bodies back to the city, exhausted and content. But I couldn't help but feel worried. The future of Dartmoor still hangs in the balance. This vast wilderness is the last battleground for us to fight for the rights that so many other European countries consider normal.